is Network 18 and you are watching CNN IBN. This is India at 9, broadcasting live from the CNN IBN headquarters in New Delhi with Rajdeep Sardesai.
Hello and welcome to India at 9. It's Friday night and ahead of the weekend, this is your destination for the day's top stories, the news, the newsmakers, the talking points on India at 9. Let's get the headlines at the top of the... But has young India really moved well beyond Ayodhya? That's our big talking point tonight on India at 9. Joining us now, a special panel with us from Mumbai. We're joined by Gul Panag, actor, Ranveer Shure, another young actor, Rahul Ishwaran, who works with the Sabri. He's the spokesperson for the Sabrimala temple. He joins us from Thiruvananthapuram. I'm also joined here by Hamidullah Saeed. He's the youngest MP in Parliament from the Congress Party. Also with me is Shazia Ilmi. She's a television journalist. And Vimlendu Jha is the founder director of Swechha. It's an NGO. So 6 different viewpoints, hopefully, that will come in, all young faces. Let me first come to you, Gul Panag. You represent Young India. Do you believe that Young India is simply not interested in even considering what has happened in the past? It simply wants to sweep aside the past, move ahead, is only concerned about its own future. It's a Me Too generation which is not worried about Ayodhya and issues like that.
I'd have to agree to you largely on that, Rajdeep. I think in any progressive country, and we'd like to think of ourselves as progressive people, religion has to come back to the private domain. It has no place in the public domain. At the end of the day, what we want is education, we want prosperity, we want hope for a better future for all our brethren in this country. Really, any party that wants to be India's democratically elected representative should keep religion out of its domain now and forever. And I mean, I'd like to add here that India as a nation, as a country and as a culture has had a history of communal harmony for centuries. In fact, we are the only nation in the world in recorded history to not have had any anti-Semitic incidents during, in the last. So in fact, we're also the country where people who faced religious persecution, such as the Zoroastrians, came to. Now we've had religious and communal.
Hold on, but you're saying that we've been a nation of communal harmony, yes, but we've also had conflict in the past. Ranveer Shure,
right?
What has changed? What has changed?
Can I finish, Rajdeep?
Yes.
Can I just finish for a second?
Yeah, go
ahead. The point is the communal violence that we've recorded in history has been pretty much the last 7 or 8 or maybe 9 decades, and it's all later found to be politically motivated, clearly.
Okay.
So what are we talking about? I mean, we're talking about an aware generation today, an educated generation that wants prosperity, economic prosperity, infrastructure, and of course accountability and lack of corruption. We don't have time to bring religion back into the public domain when it really needs to go into the private domain.
Okay, that's a good point, that you want religion to be in the private domain. It should not be in the public domain. But Ranveer Shure, is it about the economy? We gave those figures in the story. The Sensex is now 20,000. It was 2,000 in 1992. The economy is 9%. It was then 2.2%. Is it just the money factor that drives India's young and thereby keeps religion in a public sense away? Because there is also the trend of these religious television serials which are gathering momentum, religious television channels. Kadwa Chauth is celebrated. So it's not as if religion is out of our lives, is it?
No, Rajdeep, I think on the other hand, this is the younger generation showing far more maturity about things that are in the religious domain, to borrow Gul's word. I think is that more and more youngsters are finding a disparity between what our religious leaders are supposed to be preaching or talking about and what in effect the actions show. What I'm trying to say here is that as religious leaders, the idea is for you to be shepherds of your faith and to lead them to something bigger, bigger and grander. And to make have that faith grow in some way. Instead, we are finding our religious leaders are boxing things up either in murtis or or in buildings, And I think it is this thing which doesn't make sense to the newer generation.
Okay.
I think they see this
so they see that
disparity.
yeah, okay. So they see that religious leaders have, in a sense, misled them. They've not been shepherds, but have misled them. Rahul Ishwaran, you're a trustee with the Sabrimala Trust. Is that true that religious leaders today stand discredited in the eyes of India's young? India's young doesn't like the idea of institutionalized religion. They like religion in their private domain.
I doubt whether we can generalize those things. I believe India as a nation and a notion, India both as a nation and as an idea, as a notion, we should move ahead. But in order to move ahead, we need three things, and three things to be very clear and precise. The first thing being, those who brought down that disputed structure, let it be Babri Masjid disputed structure, should be held accountable, because that's a criminal act, that's an illegal act, they should be held accountable. Second thing, those people who still try to provoke those two communities, I don't want to name the paper, one particular paper gave this headline, one very prominent South Indian paper gave this headline here, where they showed jubilant Hindus and sad Muslims, as if they are competitors. Right. So these kind of medias should also be held accountable. The media should be responsible for themselves. And